Hi, this is Sanjay Bhatia, and welcome to TFIR Newsroom. IBM recently announced the release of IBM Blockchain Platform version 2.5, which improves on IBM's Blockchain Platform version 2 in a lot of ways. These include support for Hyperledger Fabric 2.0 and tighter integration with Red Hat technologies. To discuss this new release and also the role that blockchain is playing in the modern world, we have with us Carolyn Rogers, a principal product manager for the IBM Blockchain Platform. Carolyn, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we talk about the latest release, can you provide us some insight into the role that blockchain technologies are playing in the supply chain and why supply chains need blockchain?
We at IBM have a lot of clients working with supply chain blockchain use cases. And the reason is it's such a perfect example of the way multiple parties need to interact and share data in an ecosystem, in a shared business process, with a lot of points of friction and opportunities for friction. And so, you can imagine we have one client, for example, Vertrax, which is an oil and gas supply chain, and they've built a blockchain network on our IBM Blockchain Platform to help onboard all their many suppliers and to mitigate some of the risks that are involved in oil and gas supply. So, if there are any delays in the supply chain, any weather-related incidents that might hold things up, they have a much better shared set of information that can reduce costs and reduce many of the friction that they experience.
Right. Now, let's talk about the new release. Tell us a bit about some of the biggest changes or improvement that are there in this new platform.
The three main things that are new with this 2.5 release is we've incorporated the latest open source with Hyperledger Fabric 2.0. We've created better automation with Ansible playbooks, as well as improved the developer environment with Red Hat code-ready workspaces. And just to provide a little bit more context for your listeners or readers who may not know the blockchain platform from IBM very well, but IBM has been in the blockchain space for several years, and our goal has always been to provide the best platform for building enterprise-grade solutions on leading open source. So what the IBM Blockchain Platform essentially is a set of advanced tooling around building and operating blockchain solutions built around Hyperledger Fabric, which is an open source distributed ledger technology. And in fact, it is a leader in the enterprise space for that. And importantly, with the ability to deploy this platform and its components anywhere. Because the reality is when you're building these consortia with multiple participants that are operating in disparate IT environments, you need them to be able to operate it, whether they need it to be on-premise or hybrid cloud or public cloud. We're enabling that. So to that end, we've made several improvements to this version. The first we mentioned was the support for Hyperledger Fabric 2.0. And that comes with some exciting new features, including decentralized governance for smart contracts, some performance improvements as well, and some new ways that you can deal with private data collections. And we can talk about all those things a little bit later. The second thing around automation is Ansible playbooks. Now, we're in this moment with blockchain platforms and blockchain solutions where many of our clients are in production and they're wanting to scale rapidly and onboard new members. And so, it takes some manual effort to onboard those members, or you would write typically a custom script in order to do that, but those scripts can break whenever you get a new release of the open source or the platform. And so Ansible Playbooks, this is an open source tool, and what we've done is released a collection of these playbooks that automate the process of creating a new network or onboarding members to make these much faster. And so you can go out there to our documentation today, and it'll link you to where you can download these Ansible collections. And the third thing that I want to mention is the Red Hat code-ready workspaces that we've enabled and integrated with. And one of the great things when you acquire the leader in open source solutions for the enterprise with Red Hat is there are new opportunities for teaming and integration. So one of the things that we have done in the past year is made our blockchain platform available to deploy on Red Hat OpenShift, which is enterprise grade Kubernetes containerization platform. And so now we've kind of enabled a similar thing with the development workspace. Previously, we did have our VS Code extension for the IBM Blockchain Platform, which developers could go and download the extension, from GitHub and start coding and developing their smart contracts that way. But in many regulated environments and financial services and companies who are not able to just go to GitHub or whatever and download these open source development tools onto their machines locally, they're not allowed to do that. This provides a way to have a secure development environment that you can access remotely, and then have better collaboration around that as well. So those are the main improvements.
Now we are going through a very kind of challenging times in the crisis COVID-19. The way, I mean, it is disrupting industries. It's also creating new businesses, but also disrupting a lot. So can you talk about how is the blockchain project kind of either helping a lot of industries, because everything is moving online and you do need somebody to trust here when there are a lot of transactions happening. So can you talk about the impact and how blockchain is helping those industries?
First, I'll talk about kind of how our clients in the blockchain space have responded or been impacted by the pandemic. Everybody has felt the impact. But because we work with so many different industries, different sizes of clients, I think they've all felt it a little bit differently and reacted a little bit differently and had to prioritize differently. So, I would say that by and large, the projects that we have that have been underway are continuing to move forward, though some may have had to pivot. Maybe they were focusing on a use case that involved ticketing for events, and maybe that's not the best place to put your efforts these days, and pivoting to a new space. So we're seeing a little bit of that, but you mentioned supply chain in the beginning, and certainly if clients were not already thinking about the resiliency of their supply chain, they are now. So the use cases that we have had working with clients that are focused on supply chain are certainly continuing forward, and that's still top of mind. And they recognize that the innovation in that regard cannot stop, especially in this moment. And then I think, as you alluded to, the impact of the pandemic, I think, helped us all to collectively realize how much of our society is rooted in a trust that is based on your physical presence, to be able to identify you as a person or to verify documents or what have you. And in this moment, we've realized that we can't always rely on that going forward and take the physical presence for granted in order to identify, verify these transactions. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of innovation in that regard.
Right, very true. Now, when you were of course, it's not that these the new releases are not work on weekly basis, but when you work on the next release, because of this pandemic, did anything change in the priority? That this is the pressing need that we should address now. So, how did that impact the release cadence or the future release cadences as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody, there was a couple of weeks early on where we, were sort of taking stock of what was going on and trying to understand what it meant for our clients and our business. But I would say by and large, it didn't fundamentally change our goal, which was to provide a very robust, secure platform that could enable innovation in the use cases in the industries that were being impacted by the pandemic. So, still had the need and the goal of incorporating the latest of Hyperledger, providing better compliance, security, all of the things you need for an enterprise-grade platform, and then continuing to make things easier, better collaboration tools, better automation tools. So I would say by and large, it didn't derail our roadmap.
Now you have mentioned how IBM's clients are using it. I just want to, if you can share who. I mean, of course, there are a lot of companies using it, but some unique or exciting use cases that you saw that hey, they are using blockchain in a way that is really exciting for the ecosystem itself.
Yeah, sure. And one is that is very topical, top of mind right now that addresses the challenges of the pandemic is a project called Mi Pasa. It's a collaboration between IBM and Hasera. And the goal of this project, it's built on the IBM Blockchain Platform. And the goal of this project is to integrate all the various data sources from the CDC, the World Health Organization, and trusted sources of data regarding the pandemic and its spread. And so the idea is to have these data streams being integrated in a way that is verified, trusted, applying some analytic tools on top of it to identify any discrepancies or inconsistencies and try to make sure the data matches up and onboard all these trusted sources so that application developers and other companies who are interested in using this data have kind of a central repository that they know represents the best possible source from these trusted sources. So that is, I think, very, very timely, very topical, and I expect to see some very exciting things coming out of that project. Another example that I'll mention is Home Depot has been working with us. They actually recently shared their story at our virtual Think conference at the beginning of May. And if you think about Home Depot, their business model is largely predicated on the relationships they have with their many, many suppliers. And so, they had this problem where, they're managing hundreds and hundreds of suppliers, and inevitably you have the need for reconciliation and dispute management when you have frictions and, invoice discrepancies and things of that nature. And so they're, spending millions of dollars every year reconciling all of this. And that comes at a cost, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a relationship standpoint. If your business model is based on the relationships you have with all these suppliers, you're trying to reduce as many frictions as you can. So they worked with us and on the IBM Blockchain Platform built a solution to onboard their suppliers and do dispute management and reconciliation. And they intend to scale that over the next couple of years to hundreds of suppliers.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing those uses now. One thing that this pandemic has taught me that please don't do any forecasts. We cannot talk about what the world will look like in 6 months. But it's still, despite what we see here, what are the trends you see in general in the blockchain space within the ecosystem, where you see that things will be moving in this direction, despite the world that we are currently living in?
I would say that in the past year, I'm optimistic to say that we've seen the end of what I would call blockchain tourism. We've seen the emergence of serious players. We understand the use cases. We kind of know what makes a good blockchain use case now. And I think that is resulting now in a little bit of a shift in vocabulary from just talking about the technology, about blockchain, to multi-party systems. And it's more of a focus on the outcome and the business problems regarding multi-party systems. And so I think that in the future, we will see growth in a few areas around blockchain. I think digital assets and tokenization are very hot right now. There's a lot of debate and interest in how to best manage digital assets and represent them and be able to transact with them and interoperate between networks. I think that will continue to grow. I think we'll also see innovations in governance. Many of the challenges to adoption of blockchain overall is still largely rooted in just the challenges of collaborating as humans and as organizations. So I think we'll see advancements in how governance takes place, and how responsibilities are shared among a network, how costs are shared and business models emerge, and things of that nature. And then the last thing I'll say is I think we'll continue to see improvements in things like performance and scalability. Those things will get better. And then the integration with more advanced, say, business analytic tools to be able to extract more value from the data that is being transacted on the networks.
Carolyn, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and talking to me today. And I look forward to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.